The metal floor of the maintenance bay felt cold against Hannah Kim's knees as she crawled under the main circuit panel. Her work clothes were already dirty from 3 hours of fixing broken wires and replacing damaged parts. The ship had taken a beating when they flew through the asteroid field last week, and now everything needed repairs. Hannah wiped sweat from her forehead and looked at the mess of wires in front of her. Red ones, blue ones, yellow ones, all tangled together like a bowl of colorful noodles. Some had been cut by flying rocks during the asteroid encounter. Others had simply burned out from the power overload. The Stellar Wind was a big ship, home to 200 crew members from different planets. Humans like herself worked alongside tall blue aliens called Zephians and small insect-like creatures called Kithinus. Most of the time, everyone got along well. But when things broke down, it was usually the human engineers who had to fix everything. "Arya, run a system check on Section 7, Hannah said to the ship's computer. The artificial intelligence responded in its calm female voice. Section 7, showing multiple circuit failures, Chief Engineer Kim Young, quantum communication. Array is completely offline. Hannah sighed. The quantum communication system was the most important part of the ship. Without it, they could not talk to other ships or send messages back to Earth. If something went wrong out here in deep space, no one would know. She picked up her tools and started working on the main connection point. The wires here were thicker than her thumb and carried enough power to light up a small city. One wrong move could fry the entire system or worse, electrocute her. As she worked, Hannah thought about her family back on Earth. Her mother had wanted her to become a doctor or a teacher, something safe and respectable. Instead, Hannah had chosen to fix machines and travel to the stars. Her mother had cried when she left for Space Academy. Maybe Mom was right, Hannah mumbled as she struggled with a particularly stubborn wire connection. Should have learned to fix people instead of machines. The work was slow and careful. Each wire had to go in exactly the right place. Each connection had to be perfect. One small mistake could cause the entire communication system to fail again, or even damage other parts of the ship. After 2 more hours, Hannah had replaced all the damaged wires in the main panel. Her back ached from crawling around on the floor, and her hands were covered in grease and small cuts. But the hardest part was still ahead. The quantum communication array was the most complex system on the ship. It used advanced physics that most people did not understand. Even Hannah, who had studied engineering for 6 years, sometimes felt confused by how it worked. The system could send messages faster than light by using something called quantum entanglement. Scientists back on Earth had discovered that certain particles could be connected across vast distances, and changing one would instantly affect the other. Hannah opened the main control box for the quantum array. Inside were dozens of small crystal components, each one worth more than her yearly salary. The crystals glowed with soft blue light when the system was working properly. Right now, they were all dark. She carefully removed each crystal and checked it for damage. Most were fine, but 3 had hairline cracks from the asteroid impact. Those would need to be replaced. "Arya, do we have spare quantum crystals in storage?" Hannah asked. "Affirmative. 3 spare crystals are available in Engineering Supply Room B." Hannah walked down the corridor to the supply room. The ship felt quiet during the night shift. Most of the crew was sleeping, and only essential systems were running. Her footsteps echoed off the metal walls. The supply room was small and packed with shelves of spare parts. Hannah found the quantum crystals in a special protective case. Each crystal was about the size of her finger and perfectly clear, like a piece of glass, but these were not ordinary crystals. They had been grown in special laboratories and programmed with quantum properties that allowed them to work as communication devices. Back in the maintenance bay, Hannah began the delicate process of installing the new crystals. Each one had to be placed in exactly the right position and connected to the correct wires. The instruction manual was 300 pages long, and one small error could destroy the entire system. As she worked, Hannah felt the familiar satisfaction of solving a complex problem. This was why she had become an engineer. Not for the money or the fame, but for the feeling of taking something broken and making it work again. The final step was reconnecting the main power feed to the quantum array. This was the most dangerous part. The power feed carried enough electricity to kill her instantly if she made a mistake. Hannah double-checked every connection 3 times before reaching for the main switch. "Arya, prepare for quantum array activation," she said. "All systems show green. Chief Engineer Kim, quantum array is ready for power-up." Hannah took a deep breath and flipped the switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the quantum crystals began to glow with their soft blue light. Status lights on the control panel turned from red to green. The quiet hum of working machinery filled the air. But something was wrong. Instead of the normal steady glow, the crystals were pulsing rapidly. The status lights were flickering, and the power readings on her display were jumping up and down like a wild animal. "Arya, what is happening?" Hannah asked, worried. "Unknown energy surge detected in quantum array. Power levels are fluctuating beyond normal parameters." Suddenly, the main display screen lit up with bright white light. Hannah shielded her eyes and stepped back from the control panel. The screen flickered and went dark, then lit up again with an image that made her heart stop. On the screen was her own face, but it was not a reflection or a recording she had made. The woman on the screen looked older, with gray streaks in her hair and a long scar across her left cheek. She was wearing the same engineering uniform, but it was torn and dirty. The older Hannah on the screen opened her mouth and began to speak. "If you are seeing this message, then the quantum repair worked. Listen carefully, because I do not have much time. In 3 days, a fleet of alien warships will attack your position. They call themselves the Dominion Collective, and they want to enslave our entire galaxy." Present-day Hannah stared at the screen in shock, unable to move or speak. The older version of herself continued talking. "You must modify the ship's defense systems immediately. I am sending you the technical specifications now. These modifications are the only thing that will save the crew when the attack comes." The screen filled with complex engineering diagrams and equations. Hannah's training kicked in, and she found herself automatically studying the designs, even though her mind was reeling with confusion and fear. "I know this seems impossible," the older Hannah said. "But remember when we were 7 years old, and we hid Mom's birthday present in the old oak tree behind our house? No one else knows about that." Present-day Hannah gasped. That memory was real, and she had never told anyone about it. Not her parents, not her friends, not even her diary. "The quantum repair created a connection across time," the older Hannah explained. "I am sending this message from 15 years in your future, from a galaxy torn apart by war. Humanity survived because we learned to fight back, but billions of others died. You can change that. You can save them all." The transmission began to flicker and fade. "Remember the modifications. Follow the plans exactly. And trust Captain Park when the time comes. The future of the galaxy depends on what you do in the next 3 days." The screen went dark. Hannah stood alone in the maintenance bay, staring at the blank screen. Her hands were shaking and her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. Everything she thought she knew about physics and reality had just been turned upside down. But deep in her mind, her engineering training was already working on the problem. The technical specifications her future self had sent were incredibly advanced, but they made sense. They showed ways to modify the ship's systems that she had never thought of before. Hannah looked at the quantum communication array, still glowing with its soft blue light. Somehow, the repair she had just completed had created a connection across time itself. Now she had to decide what to do with the impossible knowledge she had received. The future of everything might depend on her choice. Hannah Kim ran through the corridors of the stellar wind, her boots making loud sounds on the metal floor. In her hands she carried a data pad with the recording of her future self and all the technical plans for the ship. Modifications. Her heart was still beating fast from what she had witnessed in the maintenance bay. The ship's corridors were busier. Now, as the day shift began, crew members nodded politely as she passed. Some were humans like herself. Others were tall blue Zephyrians with crystal-like skin And a few were the insect-like Kithanis with their multiple arms and large compound eyes. Everyone looked calm and peaceful, going about their normal daily tasks. None of them knew that in 3 days, alien warships would attack their ship. Hannah reached the bridge and pressed the door chime. Captain June Park's voice came through the speaker. "Come in." The bridge was the command center of the Stellar Wind. Large screens showed star maps and sensor readings. Captain Park sat in his command chair, reviewing daily reports. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and graying hair. Hannah had always respected him as a fair and intelligent leader. Beside him stood Science Officer Myra Choi, a brilliant woman who specialized in studying alien cultures and technologies. She was younger than the captain, with short black hair and sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to notice everything. "Captain Park, Officer Choi," Hannah said, trying to keep her voice steady, "I need to show you something urgent." "Something impossible." Captain Park looked up from his reports. "What? Is it Chief Engineer Kim? You look worried." Hannah activated her data pad and showed them the recording of her future self. As the older, scarred version of herself began speaking about the coming alien attack, both officers watched with growing amazement and concern. When the recording ended, the bridge was completely silent. Captain Park was the first to speak. "Hannah, this is remarkable technology, but surely this must be some kind of computer simulation or holographic trick." "Sir, I thought the same thing," Hannah replied. "But look at these technical specifications. They show modifications to our ship systems that I never could have designed myself. And the personal memory she mentioned about hiding my mother's birthday present, that really happened. I never told anyone about it." Science Officer Choi studied the technical plans on the data pad. Her eyes grew wide as she read through the complex engineering diagrams. "Captain, these modifications are incredibly advanced," she said. "They show ways to enhance our defense systems and engines that are far beyond our current technology. If someone created this as a fake, they would need knowledge that simply does not exist yet." Captain Park stood up and walked to the main view screen, which showed the peaceful stars outside. "Even if this message is real, the claims seem impossible. Time travel, alien invasions, messages from the future. It sounds like something from a science fiction story." At that moment, the bridge doors opened and 2 more crew members entered. Veltar was a Zephyrian, tall and elegant with blue crystalline skin that sparkled in the bridge lighting. Rook was a Kithani, shorter than the others but with 4 arms and large intelligent eyes. Both aliens had heard the discussion and wanted to know what was happening. "Captain Park," Veltar said in their musical voice, "the human crew members seem agitated today. Is there some problem we should know about?" Hannah showed them the recording as well. When it finished, both aliens looked skeptical. "Humans have very active imaginations," Rook said, clicking their mandibles together in what Hannah knew was their version of laughter. "Your species creates many stories about time travel and future wars. This is probably just another human fantasy." "My people have studied time for thousands of years," Veltar added. "True time travel requires energy levels that would destroy entire star systems. This message is most likely a clever computer program." Hannah felt frustrated. She knew how crazy the story sounded, but she also knew what she had seen and experienced. "Then explain these technical specifications," she said, showing them the engineering plans. "These modifications could improve our ship's capabilities by 300%. Where would such advanced knowledge come from?" Veltar studied the plans carefully. As a Zephyrian, they had natural abilities that helped them understand complex energy patterns and technologies. "These designs are indeed very sophisticated," Veltar admitted. "Some of the concepts are similar to theoretical research my people abandoned centuries ago because they seemed impossible to build." Rook examined the plans with all 4 eyes. The Kithanis were known throughout the galaxy for their practical engineering skills. "The power distribution system shown here could work," Rook said slowly. "But they would require materials and techniques we do not have, unless ... Unless what?" Captain Park asked. "Unless whoever designed these plans had access to technologies from multiple alien civilizations. Technologies that have never been shared between species before." The bridge fell quiet again as everyone considered this possibility. Science Officer Choi broke the silence. Captain, I recommend we take this seriously, even if we are not sure it is real. The technical modifications shown in these plans would definitely improve our ship's performance. Even if the time travel story is false, implementing these upgrades would make us safer during our deep space mission. Captain Park nodded thoughtfully. How long would it take to make these modifications? Hannah looked at the plans again. Working around the clock with a full engineering team, maybe 2.5 days. We would need to completely rebuild the defense grid, upgrade the engine systems, and install this new quantum communication relay. And you believe we only have 3 days before this supposed alien attack? The captain asked. That is what my future self said in the message. Captain Park made his decision. Very well. Chief Engineer Kim, you have permission to begin the modifications immediately. Assemble your best engineering teams and work as fast as safely possible. Officer Choi, I want you to monitor our long-range sensors for any unusual activity. If, there really is an alien fleet approaching, we need to detect them as early as possible. What about the rest of the crew? Hannah asked. Should we tell them about the message? Not yet, Captain Park replied. We do not want to cause panic over something that might not be real. For now, we will tell the crew that we are performing routine upgrades to improve ship performance. Over the next several hours, Hannah worked with her engineering teams to begin the modifications. The work was extremely complex and required careful coordination between human and alien crew members. Engineer Tyke SEO led the team working on the defense systems. He was a quiet, methodical man who specialized in weapons and shield technology. As he studied the modification plans, he became more and more impressed. These defense upgrades are brilliant, he told Hannah. They create multiple overlapping shield layers that can adapt to different types of attacks. I have never seen anything like this before. Scientist Yuki Lim worked with the alien crew members to upgrade the engine systems. She was young and enthusiastic, always eager to learn new technologies. The Zephyrians and Kithanis taught her techniques that human engineers had never used before. The engine modifications will increase our speed by 40%, she reported to Hannah. But, more importantly, they will give us much better maneuverability. If we do have to fight enemy ships, we will be able to dodge their attacks much more effectively. As the teams worked through the night, Hannah found herself checking the time constantly. According to her future self's message, they had less than 3 days before the alien attack would begin. On the second day of modifications, Science Officer Choi called Hannah to the bridge. Chief Engineer Kim, you need to see this, she said, pointing to the long-range sensor display on the screen. Hannah could see dozens of small dots approaching their position from deep space. The sensor readings showed that the objects were artificial, definitely some kind of spacecraft. How far away are they? Hannah asked. At their current speed, they will reach us in approximately 18 hours. Troy replied. Captain Park studied the sensor readings carefully. The ships do not match any known alien designs in our database, and there are far too many of them to be a peaceful exploration fleet. Hannah felt a chill run down her spine. Her future self's warning was coming true. Captain, we need to finish the modifications immediately, she said. These must be the Dominion collective ships that my future self warned us about. Captain Park activated the ship's general communication system. Attention all crew members. This is your captain speaking. We have detected an approaching fleet of unknown alien vessels. All departments should prepare for possible hostile contact. Engineering teams, complete your current upgrades as quickly as possible. All other crew members report to your emergency stations. Throughout the ship, crew members began preparing for what might be their first real battle. Humans and aliens worked together, checking weapon systems, reinforcing critical areas, and making sure emergency supplies were ready. Hannah returned to the engineering sections, where her teams were working frantically to complete the modifications. The defense systems were nearly finished, and the engine upgrades were in their final stages. How much more time do you need? Captain Park asked over the communication system. How much more time do you need? Captain Park asked over the communication system. Hannah looked at the work that still needed to be done. Give us 6 more hours, Captain. We can have everything ready in 6 hours. You have 4 hours, the captain replied. The alien fleet is accelerating. They will be here sooner than we thought. As Hannah and her teams raced to complete the modifications, she wondered if her future self's warning would be enough to save. The alien ships were coming, just as predicted. Soon they would find out if the technical upgrades would be enough to protect the Stellar Wind and its crew. The battle for their lives was about to begin. The bridge of the Stellar Wind was tense with anticipation as the alien fleet drew closer. Captain June Park sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display that showed dozens of enemy ships approaching their position. The vessels were, unlike anything in their databases, dark, angular craft that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. All modifications are complete, Captain, Hannah Kim reported from the engineering deck. Defense systems are online, engines are upgraded, and the new quantum communication relay is operational. Good work, Chief Engineer, Captain Park replied. All crew members prepare for contact with unknown aliens. Weapon systems are armed, but we will not fire first. On the main view screen, the alien ships became visible as they dropped out of. Faster than light travel? They were massive, each one twice the size of the Stellar Wind. Their hulls were covered in strange symbols that seemed to move and shift. When looked at directly, Science Officer Mara Choi studied her sensor readings. With growing concern? Captain, I am detecting unusual energy patterns from the alien ships. Their technology appears to be based on principles we do not understand. Suddenly, the ship's communication system activated without anyone touching the controls. A voice filled the bridge, but it was not coming through the normal audio speakers. Instead, it seemed to speak directly inside everyone's minds. Attention, primitive vessel. You will surrender immediately. All sentient beings aboard your ship will be processed for integration into the Dominion Collective. Resistance will result in painful termination. Most of the crew members cried out in pain as the mental voice invaded their thoughts. Veltar, the Zephyrian officer, collapsed to the floor holding their crystalline head. Rook, the Kithani, made clicking sounds of distress as all 4 of their arms clutched at their skull, but the human crew members, while uncomfortable, remained standing and alert. I am Captain June Park of the human exploration vessel Stellar Wind, the captain said aloud. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. We do not wish any conflict with your people. A mental voice returned, filled with cold amusement. I am Prime Nexus Koth of the Dominion Collective. Your species designation is irrelevant. You will comply with integration protocols or face immediate destruction. On the view screen, an image appeared of the alien leader. Prime Nexus Koth was a tall, gaunt figure with pale gray skin and completely black eyes. Its head was covered with metallic implants that pulsed with dark energy. When it spoke, its mouth did not move, but the words continued to echo in everyone's minds. Your alien companions show proper submission to our mental dominance, Koth continued. But your human minds display unusual resistance. This is unexpected but not problematic. You will be studied before integration. Captain Park looked around the bridge. The alien crew members were still writhing in pain from the psychic assault, but all the humans seemed relatively unaffected. This was exactly what Hannah's future self had warned them about. We refuse your demand for surrender, Captain Park said firmly. We are free beings, and we will remain free. Prime Nexus Koth's image showed what might have been a smile. Your defiance is noted and will be corrected. Dominion fleet begin harvesting procedures. The alien ships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of dark energy shot toward the Stellar Wind, but instead of the usual bright weapon fire, these beams seemed to bend space itself. They passed right through the ship's normal shields as if they were not there. Shields are ineffective, shouted Tactical Officer Hyan Lee. The enemy weapons are phasing through our defenses. But then Hannah's modifications kicked in. The new defense system created multiple layers of protection, each one using different physical principles. The alien weapons could pass through the first layer, but the second layer stopped them completely. All stations report minimal damage, Myra Choi announced with surprise. The new defense systems are working. Captain Park smiled grimly. Return fire. Target their lead ships. The Stellar Wind's weapons fired back at the alien fleet. Normal ship weapons would have been useless against the Dominion's advanced technology. But the modifications included new targeting systems that could track the enemy ships. Unusual energy signatures. The human weapons struck the alien vessels with surprising effectiveness. One of the smaller Dominion ships exploded in a burst of dark energy, while two others showed severe damage. Impossible, Prime Nexus Koth's mental voice sounded shocked. Your primitive weapons should not be able to penetrate our defenses. Apparently, we are not as primitive as you thought, Captain Park replied. The battle began in earnest. The Dominion ships attacked with weapons that bent space and time, while the Stellar Wind used its enhanced systems to dodge and counterattack. The alien vessels were faster and more maneuverable than normal ships, but Hannah's engine modifications allowed the human ship to keep up. Down in engineering, Hannah worked frantically to keep all systems running at peak efficiency. The modifications were holding up well, but the strain of continuous combat was pushing everything to its limits. Power output is at 120%. Engineer Tyke SCO reported. The new systems are performing better than expected. Keep pushing, Hannah replied. We need every advantage we can get. On the bridge, scientist Yuki Lim was analyzing the enemy weapons and tactics. Captain, I think I understand how their weapons work. They are using quantum phase technology to make their attacks exist in multiple dimensions at once. That is why they can pass through normal shields. Can we adapt our defenses further? Captain Park asked. Already working on it? Yuki replied. Her fingers flying over her control console, the battle continued for almost an hour. The Stellar Wind managed to destroy 3 more enemy ships, but there were still over 30 Dominion vessels attacking them. The human ship was faster and more maneuverable now, but it was still outnumbered. During a brief lull in the fighting, Captain Park noticed something important. Myra, are you recording everything that happens in this battle? Yes, Captain. All sensor data and tactical information is being stored. Good. Hannah, is the quantum communication relay working? Yes, sir. It has been sending data automatically since the battle began. Captain Park realized that this was part of the plan. The new communication system was transmitting everything. They learned about the Dominion to other human colonies and ships. Even if the Stellar Wind was destroyed, the information would survive. Captain, Veltar said weakly from their position on the floor. The mental attacks are getting stronger. I do not think we can resist much longer. The Zephyrian and Kithani crew members were still suffering from the psychic assault. Their alien minds seemed more vulnerable to the Dominion's mental weapons than human brains. Get our alien crew members to the medical bay, Captain Park ordered. Have Dr. Nam treat them for psychic trauma. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Stellar Wind could not win through firepower alone. They needed a different strategy. Captain, Hannah called from engineering. I have an idea. The Dominion ship seemed to be controlled by that central command vessel. If we could disable or destroy it, the other ships might become confused. How do you propose we do that? Captain Park asked. The quantum communication relay is not just for sending messages. It can also disrupt other quantum systems. If I can modify it to focus on the command ship, it might interfere with their control systems. Do it, Captain Park ordered. Hannah worked quickly to reconfigure the communication array. The modification was risky and could destroy their own systems, but it was their best chance. Ready, Captain, she reported. Fire the quantum disruptor, Captain Park commanded. A beam of pure energy shot from the Stellar Wind toward the Dominion command ship. When it struck, the alien vessel's lights flickered and went out. The ship began to drift helplessly in space. Immediately, the other Dominion ships stopped their coordinated attack. They seemed confused, firing randomly and bumping into each other. It worked, Yuki Lim shouted. Their command and control system is disrupted. But the victory was short-lived. Prime Nexus Koth's mental voice returned, now filled with rage. You will pay for this interference. The Dominion Collective has conquered 1,000 worlds. Your small victory changes nothing. The full invasion. Fleet will arrive soon, and when it does, your entire species will be enslaved or destroyed. The damaged Dominion ships began to retreat, but not before Prime Nexus Koth sent one final message. Remember this, humans. You have made an enemy of the greatest power in the galaxy. We will return with 1,000,000 ships and weapons that will turn your worlds to ash. The harvest of this galaxy has begun, and nothing you do will stop it. The alien fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving the stellar wind alone. Among the stars, Captain Park looked around the bridge at his crew. They had won their first battle, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. Damage report, he ordered. Minor damage to hull sections 7 and 12, Myra Choi reported. All major systems are functional. Casualties are light, mostly psychic. Trauma among our alien crew members. Captain, Hana said over the communication system. The quantum relay transmitted all our battle data to 12 different human colonies. They now know about the Dominion threat and have copies of all our defensive modifications. Captain Park nodded with satisfaction. Good, at least our people will be warned and prepared. But as he looked at the stars where the alien fleet had disappeared, he knew that the real war was just beginning. The Dominion Collective would return, with more ships and deadlier weapons. Humanity's survival would depend on whether they could unite the galaxy's free peoples before the main invasion arrived. The battle for the galaxy had started, and there was no turning back after the battle. With the Dominion scouts, the stellar wind drifted quietly through space while the crew made repairs and tended to the wounded. The alien crew members were slowly recovering from the psychic attacks, but many still suffered from severe headaches and mental confusion. In the medical bay, Dr. Sunam worked carefully to treat Veltar and the other affected aliens, the Zephyrians. Crystalline skin had lost its usual bright blue color and now appeared dull and gray. The psychic assault created neural pathway damage, Dr. Nam explained to Captain June Park. Their minds are more complex than human brains, which makes them more vulnerable to mental attacks. The humans on board showed remarkable resistance to the same assault. Captain Park nodded thoughtfully. Chief Engineer Kim, have you been able to re-establish contact with your future self? Hannah Kim looked up from her workstation where she had been trying to reconnect the quantum communication array. For the past 6 hours, she had been adjusting frequencies and power levels, but the connection remained unstable. I am getting intermittent signals, she replied. The quantum field created during the battle seems to have disrupted the temporal link. Give me a few more minutes. As Hannah worked, Science Officer Myra Choi studied the sensor data from their encounter with the Dominion fleet. The alien technology was unlike anything they had seen before, combining advanced physics with what appeared to be biological components. Captain, I have been analyzing the Dominion ships, Myra said. Their hulls contain living tissue integrated with mechanical systems. The ships are not just vehicles, they are partially alive. What does that mean for us? Captain Park asked. It explains why our modified weapons were so effective. The biological components made the ships vulnerable to quantum disruption. A purely mechanical vessel would have been much harder to damage. Suddenly, the main display screen flickered to life. The older, scarred version of Hana Kim appeared, but the image was unstable and kept cutting in and out. Connection established, the future Hana said, her voice distorted by static. I do not have much time. The timeline changes you have made are affecting my ability to communicate across time. Present-day Hana quickly activated the recording systems. Tell me everything you can about the Dominion Collective. The older Hana's image became clearer. For a moment, behind her they could see what looked like the same maintenance bay, but it was damaged and filled with makeshift equipment. The Dominion Collective is not a normal alien civilization, future Hana explained. They are a parasitic empire that spreads across the galaxy by enslaving other species. They use advanced biotechnology to control the minds of their victims. How did they become so powerful? Captain Park asked. They have been conquering worlds for thousands of years. Each species they defeat adds their knowledge and abilities to the collective. They now control the technology of hundreds of different civilizations. The image flickered badly and future Hannah's voice became harder to hear. In my timeline, they arrived with a massive invasion fleet. Thousands of ships carrying planet-killing weapons. Most of the galaxy fell within months. Only a few species managed to resist. What made the difference for those who survived? Myra Choi asked. Mental resistance, future Hannah replied. The Dominion's greatest weapon is their ability to control minds. Species with strong natural psychic defenses could fight back. Humans turned out to be almost completely immune to their mental attacks. Present-day Hannah leaned forward. Is that why they seemed surprised when their psychic weapons did not work on us? Exactly. Human brains develop differently than most alien species. We are not naturally telepathic, which makes us resistant to mental domination. This immunity allowed humans to lead the resistance movement in my timeline. The transmission began to fade again. Listen carefully, future Hannah continued. The main invasion fleet will not arrive for several months, but when it does, it will bring 1,000,000 ships. Your only hope is to unite the free species of the galaxy before then. Humans must become the leaders of a galactic alliance. How do we convince other species to follow us? Captain Park asked. Show them the battle data from your encounter with the scouts. Prove that the Dominion can be defeated. Share the defensive modifications with every ship and planet you can reach. And remember, humans can pilot captured Dominion technology because of your mental immunity. The image of future Hannah suddenly became very clear, and her expression grew urgent. There is something else. The Dominion has advanced bases hidden throughout the galaxy. They have been preparing for this invasion for decades. You must find and destroy these bases before the main fleet arrives. Where are these bases located? Hannah asked. I am transmitting coordinates now, future Hannah replied. But be careful. Each base is heavily defended, and they contain weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The screen filled with star charts showing dozens of locations scattered across the galaxy. Some were in empty space, others were hidden near inhabited worlds. The largest base is in the Kepler sector, future Hannah continued. It contains the Dominion's main communication array for this galaxy. If you can destroy it, you will disrupt their ability to coordinate the invasion. The transmission began to break up badly. The timeline changes are making it harder to maintain contact, future Hannah said, her voice now very faint. Each victory you achieve makes my dark future less likely to exist. Soon I may not be able to reach you at all. Wait, present day. Hannah called out. How do we know if we are changing things for the better? Trust in humanity's greatest strength, future Hannah replied. We do not give up, we adapt. We find ways to turn our weaknesses into advantages. The Dominion thinks they are conquering primitive species, but they do not understand what makes humans special. What makes us special? Captain Park asked. The image was now barely visible, but they could still hear future Hannah's voice. We do not just survive, we help others survive too. We do not just fight for ourselves, we fight for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. That is why other species will follow us. Not because we are the strongest, but because we care about more than just our own survival. The transmission cut out completely, leaving the bridge in silence. Hannah stared at the blank screen for a long moment, then turned to Captain Park. Sir, we have our mission. We need to warn the galaxy about the Dominion invasion and unite the free species under human leadership. Captain Park stood up from his command chair and looked around at his crew. Humans and aliens worked together. On the bridge, all of them dedicated to their shared mission of exploration and discovery. Now they would need to become something more. Set course for the nearest inhabited system, he ordered. We have a galaxy to save. Over the next several days, the stellar wind traveled to 3 different alien worlds. At each stop, Captain Park and his crew shared the battle data from their encounter with the Dominion scouts. They showed the defensive modifications that had saved their ship and offered to help other species prepare for the coming invasion. The reactions were mixed. Some alien leaders dismissed the threat as human paranoia. Others were interested but wanted more proof. A few immediately began implementing the defensive upgrades on their own ships. On the fourth world they visited, everything changed. The planet Zarian was home to the Torathi, a proud warrior species known throughout the galaxy for their military skills. When Captain Park presented the evidence of the Dominion threat to the Torathi High Command, their leader, General Crix, studied the data carefully. "These Dominion weapons are indeed formidable," General Crix admitted. "But what makes you think humans should lead an alliance against them? Your species is young and has little experience with galactic warfare." Captain Park had been expecting this question. "Because we are the only species that can resist their mental attacks. In any battle with the Dominion, human crews will be essential for operating captured enemy technology and maintaining clear thinking under psychic assault." To prove his point, Captain Park arranged a demonstration. Using pieces of Dominion technology salvaged from the battle, Hannah and her engineering team showed how human crew members could operate the alien systems while other species could not even touch them without experiencing severe mental pain. General Crix was impressed. "This changes everything. If humans can use Dominion technology against them, we have a chance of victory." Within hours, the Torathi had agreed to join the alliance. Their powerful fleet would provide the military backbone needed to fight the Dominion invasion. Word of the alliance spread quickly through subspace communication networks. Within weeks, 12 different species had agreed to join the coalition against the Dominion threat. Each species brought their own unique technologies and abilities to the alliance. The Vegan Confederacy contributed their advanced manufacturing capabilities. The Altarian Republic shared their expertise in defensive systems. The Centauri Union provided their knowledge of quantum physics and faster-than-light travel. But it was the humans who coordinated everything. Captain Park found himself appointed as Supreme Commander of the Allied Fleet, while Hannah became the Chief Technology Officer responsible for integrating all the different alien technologies. As the alliance grew stronger, they began planning their first major operation, an attack on the Dominion base in the Kepler sector. If they could destroy the enemy's main communication array, it would buy them precious time to prepare for the full invasion. The battle for the galaxy was about to enter a new phase, with humanity leading the fight for freedom across the stars. 3 months after the first encounter with the Dominion Collective, the Allied fleet gathered in the empty space of the Kepler sector. Over 200 ships from 15 different species formed the largest military coalition in galactic history. At the center of the fleet, the Stellar Wind served as the command vessel for the upcoming assault on the Dominion communication base. Captain June Park stood on the bridge, now wearing the uniform of Supreme Commander of the Allied forces. The responsibility felt heavy on his shoulders, but he knew that humanity's unique abilities made them the natural leaders of this desperate alliance. "All fleet commanders report ready," announced Communication Officer Hyan Lee. "The attack force is in position." On the main view screen, the Dominion base appeared as a massive dark structure floating in the void between stars. It was 3 times larger than any ship in the Allied fleet, covered with the same strange symbols that seemed to move and shift when looked at directly. "Sensor analysis complete," reported Science Officer Myra Choi. "The base is heavily shielded and armed with weapons similar to those we encountered before. However, I am detecting significant weaknesses in their defensive grid." Chief Engineer Hannah Kim worked at her station, coordinating with engineering teams across the entire fleet. Over the past months, she had helped dozens of alien species modify their ships using the defensive upgrades from her future self's plans. "All ships report that the quantum disruption modifications are online," Hannah announced. "We are ready to begin the coordinated attack." The plan was complex but necessary. The Allied fleet would attack in 3 waves, each one designed to exploit different weaknesses in the Dominion base. Human crews would lead each wave because of their immunity. To psychic attacks. Engineer Tyke SCO had been assigned to command a squadron of modified Torathi warships. The proud warrior aliens had welcomed human leadership once they saw how effectively humans could operate under Dominion mental assault. Wave 1 is in position, Tyke reported from his command ship, beginning approach to target. Scientist Yuki Lim led the second wave, consisting of fast attack ships from the Vegan Confederacy. Her team had spent weeks learning to operate the alien vessels, while maintaining the quantum disruption systems that made them effective against Dominion technology. Wave 2 ready for attack, Yuki confirmed. All systems are functioning perfectly. The third wave was the most dangerous mission. A small team of humans would attempt to board the Dominion base and destroy it from the inside. Hannah had volunteered to lead this group, using her engineering expertise to locate and disable the main communication array. Boarding team is prepared, Hannah reported. Transport ships are standing by. Supreme Commander Park took a deep breath and gave the order that would begin the largest battle in galactic history. All units commence attack. Today we fight not just for our own species, but for the freedom of every intelligent being in the galaxy. The first wave of Allied ships opened fire on the Dominion base. Modified weapon systems created quantum disruption fields that interfered with the enemy's biological technology. The base's shields flickered and weakened under the coordinated assault, but the Dominion defenders fought back with devastating effect. Dark energy beams lanced out from the base, destroying 2 Allied ships instantly. The surviving vessels continued their attack, but it was clear that the base was far more heavily defended than expected. Wave 1 is taking heavy casualties, Tyke reported as his ship shook under enemy fire. Requesting immediate support. Wave 2, begin your attack run, Commander Park ordered. Yuki's squadron of fast attack ships swept in from a different angle, their enhanced engines allowing them to dodge most of the enemy fire. They concentrated their attacks on the base's weapon systems, gradually reducing the defensive firepower. During the battle, something unexpected happened. The quantum disruption fields created by the Allied weapons began to interfere with the Dominion's psychic control systems. Across the base, captured alien slaves suddenly found their minds free from mental domination. Commander Park, Marichoy said excitedly, I am detecting massive internal explosions on the base. It appears that the enslaved workers are rebelling against their captors. This was an opportunity they had not planned for. The rebellion inside the base created chaos among the Dominion defenders, making them vulnerable to the final phase of the attack. Boarding team, launch immediately, Commander Park ordered. Take advantage of the confusion inside the base. Hannah and her team of 12 human volunteers launched in fast transport ships toward the Dominion base. As they approached the massive structure, they could see explosions and flashing lights through the transparent sections of the hull. The internal rebellion is spreading, Hannah reported to the fleet. We are detecting multiple system failures throughout the base. The boarding team ships passed through the weakened shields and docked with the base's outer hull. Using cutting tools enhanced with quantum technology, they burned through the alien metal and entered the enemy structure. Inside the base, Hannah and her team found chaos. The corridors were filled with smoke and the sounds of battle. Enslaved aliens fought against their Dominion captors using improvised weapons and their knowledge of the base's layout. This way, called out Engineer B.O. Kim, one of Hannah's volunteers. He had been studying the base's schematics during their approach. The main communication array should be 3 levels down. The human team moved quickly through the base, helping. Freed slaves when they could and avoiding the heaviest fighting. Their immunity to psychic attacks allowed them to function normally, while the Dominion defenders struggled with the mental chaos caused by the quantum disruption fields they reached the communication center to find it defended by a group of Dominion soldiers. But these were not like Prime Nexus Koth from the first battle. These defenders appeared to be enslaved aliens with cybernetic implants that controlled their minds. They are not our enemies, Hannah realized. They are victims just like the others. Instead of fighting the controlled defenders, Hannah's team used their quantum disruptors to interfere with the cybernetic control systems. One by one, the enslaved soldiers collapsed as their mental implants failed, freeing them from Dominion control. "Thank you," gasped one of the freed aliens, a tall reptilian creature with golden scales. "I have been a prisoner in my own mind for 7 years." With the defenders freed, Hannah's team entered the main communication center. The room was enormous, filled with organic technology that pulsed with dark energy. At the center stood a massive biological computer that served as the communication hub for the entire Dominion operation in this part of the galaxy. "Everyone stand back," Hannah warned as she approached the central console. "I am going to overload the quantum matrix." Using the knowledge from her future self's modifications, Hannah connected her portable quantum disruptor directly to the biological computer. The alien technology began to writhe and smoke as conflicting energy patterns tore it apart from the inside. "System overload in progress," she reported to the fleet. "Communication array will be destroyed in 30 seconds. All teams, evacuate the base immediately," Commander Park ordered. "Prepare for massive explosion." Hannah and her team ran back through the corridors of the base as the communication system began its final collapse. Behind them, the organic technology was dissolving into puddles of metallic liquid as the quantum disruption spread throughout the structure. They reached their transport ships, just as the base's power core went critical. The massive Dominion structure exploded in a burst of dark energy that lit up the entire star system. As the explosion faded, the Allied fleet found itself alone in space. The Dominion base was completely destroyed along with the main communication array that had coordinated enemy operations across dozens of star systems. "Mission accomplished," Commander Park announced to the fleet. "The Dominion's ability to coordinate their invasion has been severely damaged." But even as they celebrated their victory, everyone knew that this was only the beginning. The main Dominion invasion fleet was still coming, and it would bring weapons and ships that made this base look small by comparison. Over the following weeks, the Allied fleet grew even larger as news of their victory spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had been hesitant to join the Alliance now saw that the Dominion could be defeated. Hannah worked tirelessly to share the defensive modifications with every new ship that joined the fleet. The quantum disruption technology was now being manufactured on dozens of worlds, giving the Alliance the tools they needed to fight back. Engineer Tyke SCO established training programs to teach alien crews how to work alongside human commanders. The combination of human psychic immunity and alien technological expertise was proving to be devastatingly effective against Dominion forces. Scientists Yuki Lim led research teams that studied captured Dominion technology. They were learning how to turn the enemy's own weapons against them, using human crews to operate the biological systems that other species could not touch. But perhaps most importantly, the Alliance was becoming more than just a military coalition. Different species were sharing knowledge and working together in ways that had never happened before in galactic history. "We are not just fighting to survive," Commander Park told the assembled fleet commanders during one of their strategy meetings. "We are building something new. A galaxy where different species work together as equals, where no one is enslaved or dominated by others." The alien commanders agreed enthusiastically. They had seen what humans could accomplish when they worked together with other species. It was a vision of the future worth fighting for. As the Allied fleet prepared for the final battle with the main Dominion invasion force, they knew they were ready. They had the technology, the ships, and most importantly, the unity needed to face whatever the enemy might bring. The galaxy's greatest test was yet to come, but for the first time since the threat began, they had real hope for victory. 6 months after the destruction of the Dominion communication base, long-range sensors detected the approach of the main invasion fleet. The sight on the view screens was terrifying. Thousands upon thousands of dark ships, emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. The main Dominion armada had finally arrived. Supreme Commander June Park stood on the bridge of the stellar wind, watching as his tactical displays filled with enemy contacts. The Allied fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships from 30 different species, but they were still outnumbered 5-1. All fleet commanders, this is Supreme Commander Park, he announced over the communication system. Today we fight the final battle for the freedom of our galaxy. Remember your training, trust in your human partners, and never give up hope. The Dominion fleet was led by a massive command ship that dwarfed even their largest base. From this vessel, a familiar mental voice reached across space to assault the minds of the Allied crews. I am Prime Overlord Vex of the Dominion Collective, the psychic voice declared. You have caused minor delays to our harvest schedule, but your resistance ends today. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Most of the alien crews cried out in pain from the mental attack, but the human commanders remained focused and alert. After months of fighting alongside humans, the alien crews had learned to rely on their human partners when psychic weapons were used. This is Supreme Commander Park of the Allied Fleet, Captain Park replied. We have a message for you as well. This galaxy belongs to free beings who choose their own destiny. Your age of conquest ends here. The battle began across multiple star systems as both fleets engaged in the largest space combat in galactic history. The Dominion ships attacked with weapons that bent space and time, while the Allied forces used their quantum disruption technology to interfere with the enemies. Biological systems. Chief Engineer Hannah Kim led a special task force of human-crewed ships deep into the enemy formation. Their mission was to capture and disable as many Dominion vessels as possible, using humanity's immunity to psychic control to operate the alien technology. Boarding Team Alpha, this is Hannah Kim, she announced to her squadron. Target the command. Cruisers first. Every ship we capture weakens their coordination. The human boarding teams were devastatingly effective. They could enter Dominion ships without being affected by the psychic defenses, free the enslaved crews, and turn the captured vessels against their former masters. Within hours, dozens of enemy ships had been converted to the Allied cause. Engineer Tyke SEO commanded a mixed squadron of human and Tarathi ships that specialized in hit-and-run attacks. The Tarathi warriors had embraced human tactical flexibility, learning to adapt their strategies in real time rather than following rigid battle plans. Target their supply ships, Tyke ordered his pilots. Without resupply, their biological weapons will stop functioning. Scientist Yuki Lim led the research ships that stayed behind the main battle lines, analyzing enemy tactics and developing new countermeasures in real time. Her team had discovered that the Dominion's greatest weakness was their dependence on centralized control. All units, focus your quantum disruptors on the command ships, Yuki broadcast to the fleet. If we can disrupt their leadership hierarchy, their forces will lose coordination. The battle raged for 3 days across multiple star systems. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but the Allied forces were holding their own against the massive Dominion armada. The key was the human crews who could operate captured enemy technology while remaining immune to psychic attacks. On the third day of battle, something unexpected happened. As more and more Dominion ships were captured and their enslaved crews freed, a rebellion began to spread throughout the enemy fleet. Thousands of aliens who had been forced to serve the collective suddenly found themselves free to choose their own actions. Commander Park, reported Communication Officer Hyan Lee, we are receiving surrender requests from over 200 Dominion vessels. Their crews have overthrown their collective controllers. This was the turning point the Alliance had been hoping for. The Dominion's strategy of enslaving other species was backfiring as those same enslaved beings turned against their captors, but the Dominion leadership was not finished yet. Prime Overlord Vex activated a weapon of last resort, a planet-killing device that could destroy entire star systems. The massive energy beam lanced out toward the nearest inhabited world, threatening to kill billions of innocent civilians. All ships intercept that weapon, Commander Park ordered desperately. Hannah Kim made a split-second decision that would determine the fate of the galaxy. She directed her ship directly into the path of the planet-killer beam, using the stellar winds enhanced quantum shields to absorb and redirect the deadly energy. Hannah, what are you doing? Commander Park called out in alarm. The quantum modifications can handle this much energy, Hannah replied, though she was not entirely certain. But I need to make one final connection with my future self. As the planet killer beam struck the stellar wind's shields, the massive energy surge created a quantum resonance effect. Suddenly, Hannah found herself in direct communication with her future self one last time. The older Hannah appeared on her screen, but now she looked different. Instead of the scarred, war-torn figure from previous communications, this version appeared peaceful and hopeful. You did it, the future Hannah said with a smile. The dark timeline where the Dominion conquered the galaxy no longer exists. By changing the past, you have created a better future. What does this mean? Present-day Hannah asked. It means that the version of me you have been talking to, the one from the timeline where the Dominion won, is about to cease existing. The new timeline you created is replacing the old one. Present-day Hannah felt a mixture of sadness and relief. Will I still be able to contact you? No, but you will not need to, future Hannah replied. Look around you. The galaxy is about to be free. Different species are working together as equals. This is the future you were meant to create. As the future Hannah's image began to fade, she had one final message. Remember what makes humanity special. We do not just fight for ourselves, we fight for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. We do not just survive, we help others thrive. That is why the galaxy will follow our leadership into a brighter tomorrow. The image disappeared just as the planet killer beam was successfully redirected harmlessly into empty space. The stellar wind had survived, and the inhabited world was safe across the battlefield. The tide of war had turned decisively, with thousands of former Dominion ships now fighting for the Alliance and rebellion spreading throughout the enemy fleet. Prime Overlord Vex found his forces collapsing around him. This is impossible, his mental voice raged across the communication channels. The Dominion has conquered 1,000 galaxies. We cannot be defeated by primitive species. You were not defeated by primitive species, Commander Park replied calmly. You were defeated by free beings who chose to work together instead of enslaving each other. The remaining loyal Dominion ships began to retreat, but they found their escape routes blocked by the very species they had once enslaved. The rebellion had spread so far that there was nowhere left for the collective leadership to run. Prime Overlord Vex's command ship was surrounded and forced to surrender. As Alliance boarding teams took control of the vessel, they discovered something remarkable in the ship's databases: the locations of thousands of other enslaved worlds throughout the galaxy. We have won more than just a battle, Commander Park announced to the Allied fleet. We have gained the knowledge needed to free every world the Dominion has conquered. The liberation of the galaxy took several more months, but with captured Dominion ships and freed alien crews joining the effort, the process moved quickly. World after world was freed from collective control, and the former slaves eagerly joined the growing alliance. A year after the final battle, Hannah Kim found herself back in the maintenance bay of the Stellar Wind, but now the ship served as the flagship of the Galactic Alliance exploration fleet. Instead of preparing for war, she was installing new communication systems designed to coordinate peaceful exploration and scientific research. As she worked, Hannah thought about the messages from her future self. The dark timeline had been prevented, and the galaxy was indeed becoming the peaceful, cooperative place that the final version of her future self had described. The quantum communication array activated automatically, but instead of a message from the future, it received a transmission from the newly established Alliance Research Center. Scientists from dozens of species were working together to explore the mysteries of the universe, sharing knowledge freely instead of hoarding it for military advantage. Chief Engineer Kim, Captain Park called over the communication system. Are you ready for our next mission? Hannah smiled as she finished her work on the communication array. Ready, Captain? Where are we exploring today? The Andromeda Galaxy, Captain Park replied. Our new Dominion allies have detected interesting signals from that direction. They think we might find new civilizations that need our help. As the stellar wind joined a fleet of exploration vessels from many different species, Hannah realized that her future self had been right. Humanity's greatest strength was not in fighting, but in bringing different beings together to work toward common goals. The galaxy was free, but more importantly, it was united. And somewhere in the quantum streams of space and time, the echo of a message drifted peacefully, a reminder that the future belonged to those who chose cooperation over conquest, freedom over control, and hope over fear. The age of the Dominion Collective was over. The age of the Galactic Alliance had begun, with humanity proudly serving not as conquerors, but as the helpers and protectors of all free beings among the stars. The story of engineer Hannah Kim and her message from the future had ended, but the greater story of galactic civilization was just beginning.